All right, we can go quiet here for a moment. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's RD to RD live interview. We have Betsy Ramirez as our special guest today, and we took a week off last week. I was running my Build a Better product listing boot camp, and I really missed doing the live interview. So I'm glad to be back this week, and we're continuing our theme of talking about video. And I've seen the power of video from my own business, and it's really inspired me to continue to grow my skills. I think it's a high return, kind of whether it's a marketing investment for your business, that learning how to produce video is a skill that can be very valuable. So my goal is to bring on a number of experts who can help us get better at video. And Betsy is one of the people that I admire when it comes to creating and producing video. She has a fantastic background in creating videos. And most recently, I heard her speak about this topic on a Nutrition Entrepreneurs Practice Group for the Academy webinar. And that was kind of where I really got it. It was a big aha moment for me, and I've been really working at it ever since. So I'm so excited she said yes to come on to the live show today, and I get a chance to speak with her and share her knowledge with all of you as well. So Betsy, kick us off here and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Megan. And what you're doing with RD to RD is just absolutely amazing and so needed. So you've really taught me too about some video things. So I appreciate having you in my squad. That's what I like to call it. So thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. And I started out, I've always been an unconventional person, an RD especially. I never wanted to fit inside a box. So my first job was 2 months in a hospital, and I immediately started pitching myself to a supermarket. So they had, they didn't have one, but they hired me on my word, and I got to do a lot of commercials and TV segments and PR and all kinds of media. And that was my first time behind a camera. That was my first time, being on live TV, which was a little bit scary at that time. I've been at RD for 20 years, and that was at the beginning of my career, so it's been quite some time. But it served me well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a military spouse, I moved often, so I had to leave that job, and I've done numerous other jobs and have reinvented myself several times. And it was when I was stationed in Germany when I got the video bug.
Mm.
And I kept seeing the tasty videos come out in July of 2015. And I was like, if I see another video with canned biscuits, I'm going to scream. And I wanted to learn how to put a healthy spin on tasty style videos. So I actually hired a military spouse who did videography, and she helped me learn how to film and edit and lighting, and she's still a dear friend of mine to this day. And whenever I have questions, I call her. She's such a gem. So she taught me how to do it, and I'm one of these people that jumps in without knowing what the consequences are. I know that's probably not the best way to be, but sometimes you just have to go for it.
You do.
Mess up. And
that's the only way you learn. I think at some point you can study, but nothing gets you up to speed faster than trying and making a few mistakes along the way.
Exactly. And I don't learn by studying. I mean, it helps, yes, but I'm a doer. So I want to get my hands dirty, and that's exactly what I did. So I've been doing videos since 2016, and I started with hands in pans, and I've learned a lot along the way, and I'm about to launch actually a cooking series over the summer. So,
And when you say like the hands and pans, like I think most of us understand the kind of the overhead shot video, of creating a recipe. And I think there's so many other ways to use video, and I think today we'll talk about that, but also kind of broaden the horizon of what's the skill and how do you apply it in a multitude of ways for your business, because sometimes those core skills are really the same, right? Shooting, the editing component, the planning part of the video, which I can't wait to dive into, because it seems like this theme every time I have somebody on who's an expert in anything, that what we see on the the receiving end of a really great video or blog or course, we see the finished product, and I think we have a great underappreciation for the amount of planning that goes in. And every time the theme I have is people who are successful, how much time they spend getting it right, the planning part. The finished product is good because of the planning. So I'm really excited to talk to you about how do you approach, we see your finished video, but how did you get there? How do you plan it? So this is what I'm really excited to dig into.
Yeah, well, it really starts with your own creativity, in my opinion. If you have passion for something with a video, especially if there's something you really want to get the word out about, you can translate that to video really, really easily. And if you think about public speaking, in public speaking, we're always encouraged. I know when I was trained, when I took speech, you want to get across your 3 main points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even with food video, it's a little bit different, but you still want to get your point across. You still, at the end of the video, you want people to go, oh my goodness, that looks so wonderful. I have to make that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the difference between just posting a picture of your blog post
mm-hmm.
versus a video of that recipe in action, it humanizes it. And I've always said video humanizes your content. And that's exactly what food videos do too. It's not just the talker videos where
Right.
you're actually on camera. It's actually when your hands, the hands in pans, you are humanizing your content because you are making that recipe.
You are.
So I think that's important to remember. But yeah, the basics, it does kind of come down to some of the basic things that you do in any video.
Yeah. And I mentioned the webinar that you gave that where I really had some of those light bulbs go on. I'd love to, I've been saying, yes, do video, but from you who have quite, a history of, success with video, that why is your perspective on, why dietitians should, learn this skill and utilize video? Why do you think?
Yeah. Well, video is not going anywhere, and it's actually going to be most of your feed is going to be video. And I think you've already seen a trend in that. And you're seeing Facebook Watch now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's kind of go to this Hulu Prime platform where things are going to be streaming more. There still is a place for hands and pans. I know you see more talking head videos right now, but still they're using some hands and pans techniques, even when they're doing the talking head videos. And I think there's a place for just quick and easy, less than a minute recipes. People still want them. It's not something that's going to go away either. I think it's a way that you can recycle old content too, to always keep it fresh. I know, Megan, you do that a lot. You'll take old content and repost it, makes it fresh again. You get more eyes on it. I have an example of last year. I did a green eggs and ham blog post, and I made it into a video, and it did not do well. I mean, the first year it just did not do well. So this year I reposted it, and I got over 37,000 views.
Wow.
I know, I'm still like taken back by that.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, I wrote that last year. I made that video last year. So it keeps it fresh. Video really keeps everything fresh. And it's people want to get to know you too. So, if they know those are your recipes, they're seeing what your style is, the things that you make, and it's still humanizing what you're doing. So you can do it with anything. You can take pictures and you can still humanize yourself. Video really, and I've taken video this week. I've taken a pot of steaming water and I made it into a countdown for a new site that I'm launching. And it says we're cooking something up. And then at the end of it, it has the date. And then at the end of it, it has my new logo and website. So it's getting, that kind of, it's hands and pans. There's just a pot with water.
Right.
But it's more people will get their eyes on
Yeah.
that than they would just a picture.
They are. And, I think looking at where you can replace or add video, just looking at the statistics of, if you're selling a course or a book, putting a video on your sales page allows people to kind of interact with your expertise and your content in a different way, or your About Me page. We spend a lot of time writing that content to think about the connection you could make by creating, a good quality video that connects in a different way. It could be very similar to what's on your About Me page, just connecting with your audience in a different way. And it's a little scary to do video, and I think I'd love to talk about, I think for me, you turn on the camera and you do a quick live video. That's certainly one way to do it, but I'd really like to talk more about that professional, quality video. I frequently, as I'm scanning my social media feed, whether it's Instagram or primarily Facebook and Instagram, when I see a video that I like, I always save it to look and see how they put that video together, right? The kind of how they open, the transitions between maybe your face and some other, it seems to me, I feel intimidated by putting this like storyboard together and just the components. I think for me, I like to dissect down. I'm watching it, but I really don't understand how it's put together. It feels like a puzzle to me.
Right. So this is where I think dietitians can struggle the most, actually, because we are so, we can be detail oriented and type A, and we want all the processes laid out to us, when really we kind of need to, remember, like if you're doing hands and hands, it's your recipe. How do you prepare? You have to kind of visualize, okay, before you even do a storyboard, what is the method of how I do this? And the great thing is that you already have a recipe. So you have all the steps. They're all right there. But it is, you just put those in a storyboard. And an super easy way to even get started is Post-it notes. I have so many Post-it notes. And I use those when I'm shooting video, especially in the beginning, to lay out my steps when it comes to what I'm going to be shooting that day.
So let's do a storyboard idea. I think we use terms, like we'll throw them out. Like a storyboard is, so let's use the example of, I don't know, let's think of a real life food video we can make, something simple, right? So what would a storyboard look like? For me, I'm trying to make it really simple.
Yeah, so storyboarding basically is procedures. That's basically all it is just your series of procedures that you are going to execute. And how is that going to, and you have to just think about when you watch Food Network. Mm-hmm. Think about when you watch any kind of commercial that has food in it. What are their shots? And you kind of have to take yourself out of the dietitian world and put yourself into what entices me on film when it comes to food. Pay attention. Like, are they a side angle shot? Is it an overhead shot? Is it a person eating something shot? What attracts you? And then for your recipe, you want to look at what would attract my viewer. Mm-hmm. What's the best shot? Is it the drizzling of the dressing over the salad, and then put a fork in it? Or is it the ease of preparation and it's a meal solution, or it's a snack solution for kids? And like my best, one of my favorite videos is actually a 3-ingredient recipe, and it's yogurt. It's the Go-Gurts. It's homemade Go-Gurt, and it did really, really well. And it was so simple, but I had to think about, how do I want it to look? What is going to look the most appetizing? And then also I had to think about the solution that it provides, and how am I going to, wrap that up and make it look pretty for someone to watch.
I think this is a key point. So, what you said, I want to go back to what you just said, because I think it could have fallen on deaf ears, that considering your audience, what's going to appeal to them the most, and the solution, that sometimes we get caught up in, I'm making the recipe, but what we're really doing is our recipe is like a mini magnet, right? It's attracting the people who either need the content, or we're trying to attract to other services, or, bring to our site or wherever, that we need to be thinking about what's going to be magnetic for them, right? If it's a family meal, thinking about the context of your video, the shots. And I think that's really important in the planning part, right?
Right. Well, that's also where it gets complicated. So it's not, I think that's where it can become overwhelming, because then you just it's like open season in your mind of, okay, well, what kind of shot? So I think it's really best when it comes to food videos, you need to really kind of narrow down your scope.
Okay.
So terminology that we use to kind of help you in that process is called a hook shot or a beauty shot.
Okay.
And if you've done food, you know what you're talking about, and you may already have that. You may already have a really good photo, and you can use that in video. You can use photos in video. It's not, I do that a lot. I'll have my hook shot that I took as a picture, and I'll use it in the beginning and I'll use it at the end.
Okay.
So having that first frame of reference, I think, helps you then to storyboard your recipe.
Okay.
So it's great if you can do a fresh recipe, if you want to do it that way. A lot of times I like to go ahead and publish my recipe, and then I'll make the video about a week later or publish it later that week.
Okay.
To keep giving it traction. But also, it gives me I get a little bit of feedback before I know if this is something that I really want to put my time into as well. If that makes sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So we have a question, like, as far as what is, a hook shot. It is kind of, from making sure I understand, it's kind of a prepared version of the recipe that's really going to grab your ideal, person who you want to watch your video. It's supposed to be, what is a good definition of that hook shot?
It's your pretty picture.
Your pretty
picture of your food.
Okay.
And it could be that you have a great up close picture of a fork going into your dish, or it could be syrup pouring over, which I really don't, it's not live action. That's a little bit harder, but you could have syrup on pancakes just sitting there, and it looks pretty, and it's food style. It's your shot that you put your picture for on your blog,
Okay.
So it's really easy, if that makes sense.
So you mentioned a point where you'll post your recipe, and then you'll go back maybe a week later and do the video. When you're doing your recipe testing, which I know you develop recipes, right? You've got to do a lot of the testing. Do you film it while you're doing recipe testing, or is this like a full production day, or how do you go about getting the video footage?
Yeah, I used to do that. I'll be honest. I used to do that a lot. And I just found that it was becoming really stressful. Because it was all or nothing. And what if it didn't turn out, then I wasted all this footage. So it's good to really have be very comfortable with your recipe before you ever put it on video. I mean, there are some things that are really easy that you don't have to worry about so much. But for me, I find it easier as if I've made it 3 times, and you can time it all the same if you want to. If you're that prepared and you're that organized of a person, you can already have it tested 1 or 2 times and then film it, or test it once and then film it. But if you're going in with the first time, I would not film it.
Okay.
Because you need to be focused on the recipe and not on filming, and it splits your attention, and then things are going to go the wrong way.
Yeah. And I heard you mention before, I don't know if it was in the group that you run, your Facebook group, or on the webinar, that, starting with a really simple video. You mentioned like a 3-ingredient, that trying, you recommend a simpler recipe video to start out with.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, like energy bites, or something that you only need 1 appliance for. Because you have to think about other things. You have to think about your background. You have to think about the equipment that you have. You have to think about, do you have bowls? Do you have the utensils? I mean, you don't want to look like, you've got the cracked bowl, and
right.
You just want to make sure you have all the materials that you need before you make something. So the first one, you should always keep it to a minimum, no more than 1 appliance if needed.
Okay.
Less, none if better would be better. And you don't have to show all the steps in the recipe.
So is that kind of how you would plan out? Because for me, I cook a ton, and I see other people's videos, and I think, okay, and perhaps I'm too, type A, but going in and saying, okay, I'm going to make energy balls. So I'm going to have a hook shot, right, of my energy balls all done. I'm going to have photograph this, and it's going to look gorgeous. And then I'm going to walk them through the steps. So I'm going to first have, do you plan out all your shots? You're going to say, okay, I'm going to have kind of my cooking area with all the ingredients nearby, and then I know I'm going to cut to the first ingredient being added to the bowl. Or how do you plan all that out, or you kind of film and think about it as you edit?
Yeah, no, you have to do all that before you even begin, and that's where the Post-it notes come in.
Okay.
So I put each ingredient on a Post-it note.
Okay.
Then because that organizes you. There's been plenty of times where I was not organized, and I got to the recipe when I was filming, and I was missing an ingredient. My Post-its keep me organized, and I number them. So when I number them, I know which order in which they need to go in. And then also on the same Post-it note, I think about a side shot. Do I want to keep it overhead, or do I want to do a 45-degree angle? 45 degrees is something you hear about in food photography, but the same rule applies when it comes to hands and pans videos. That's another way to get a good shot. So
when you say you have it on a Post-it note, is that just the ingredient name, or do you have are you using the Post-it note as kind of a stand-in for the ingredient while you're practicing?
So what I'll do is I'll get the ingredients out, and I'll get a large baking sheet out. Okay. And I post this a lot in my group. I'll put all my ingredients on the baking sheet to keep it all together and organized. Then I'll go through with my Post-it note, and I'll write the name of each ingredient. This is how I storyboard, because I'm just a very tactile person. I need to sit and feel it to get a feel for it.
Okay.
So then I go with my ingredients. I'll write the name of the ingredient and how much that I need for that recipe. I'll write what order it comes in the recipe, like a number 1 or number 2. And then I'll write what angle I want that shot at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it does.
Angle. I love side angles. I do. I love side angles. One of my favorites. And or overhead.
Okay.
So some people too like to show them. I used to stress out a lot about putting something in the oven. How am I going to show a shot of me putting something in the oven? Because the color difference is such a huge thing. The lighting.
Right.
My oven is in a place where there's not good lighting, and I can't make it work. So I used to stress out so much. Why can't I show, I want to show this opening my oven. You know what? I just cut that out. There's no point in having that. I just have a white space that says bake at 350 for however many minutes, and show me moving the pan out of the sequence. So you don't have to show every single thing, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so
it helps with Post-it notes to show your procedures, and you can put in a Post-it note.
And I think for me, what's clicking here is if you watch, I don't know, a dozen of these videos kind of together, and then you're thinking about what you're saying right now about the shot angles, the ingredients, you can kind of start to go, oh, I see what I'm seeing, and I can see how I could set it up on my, my sheet pan, and I could, get all the shots that I need in a rather efficient time period, and then be able to edit them. So if we're getting the shots, let's talk about the tools that you recommend or that must have, and then if you're just starting out, and then the key investments that you would make kind of as you go along.
Well, you have to have something to film with, number 1. And it can be your iPhone. That's fine. iPhones have come a long way. I know a lot of people who use them. You're going to have to also have a tripod. Okay. And let me tell you a little story. My first phone and tripod, and you got to have something to attach it. So I had a little attachment that held my iPhone on top of my tripod. My tripod was like this big, like as big as the screen. It was little bitty tripod. And I actually duct taped it to my slow cooker so it would overhang, so I could get the overhead shot, and then I would stack it up on books. It was such a MacGyver move. Maybe that shows my age, how old I am, that I know it. I use that MacGyver, but it worked. And I shot some of my first videos with the overhead crock pot where it was duct taped, and I got great shots. So I mean, that's not fancy, and I think that's what intimidates some people. You have to order hundreds and thousands of dollars of equipment, and you really don't have to. All you really need is a good window with some natural light, maybe a foam board so you can bounce some of that light to prevent some shadows.
So the foam board is just what I've used for my kids' art projects. It's literally just foam board that you buy at the office store. Okay.
Poster board, basically.
Yeah, that's thicker. Yeah. Foam in between. Okay.
The window is crucial.
Okay.
You gotta have, a dark lit video nobody's gonna want to watch.
Right.
An overlit video isn't gonna do as well because it's gonna look overexposed. So
I know you've done backgrounds, like the what am I thinking of backgrounds, but the base that you put your ingredients on too.
Oh, yeah. You can get that super cheap. So like the backgrounds I have, and I actually have a video in my group on this. My favorite backgrounds, my first one I ever got was from Walmart, and they have these little boards. It's, wood boards that I would use. They're better for photography, in my opinion, now, but they were $14, and I spray painted a couple different colors, and I had different backgrounds for those. I went to Home Depot recently and got a 12 by 12 sheet of plywood. It's pre-cut. You don't have to have anyone cut it for you, for like $10. And I bought some laminate flooring, 2 sheets of laminate flooring, and put it on top of it. And that was an instant board. I spray painted the other side of it white. And then I've ordered contact paper off the internet that looks like marble, and I put that on another 12 by 12. And I like the 12 by, well, this isn't a 12 by 12. I apologize. It's a 24 by 24.
Okay.
Let me correct myself. It's a 24 by 24 square. So don't get smaller than that.
Okay.
That's actually the perfect to film on. It's 24 inches by 24 inches. You could get it at Lowe's or Home Depot in the wood section, the plywood section. But you can do wonders with that. You can order any kind of contact paper you want. And then for background, if you're showing side angles, you can get that cheap tile from the same store, and you can make your own background with the same 24 by 24. You could also, it's endless, the amount of things that you can do. You can even use poster board as your background. I've done that in one of my videos. I actually have it on poster board. If it's not messy, no one's going to see it.
True. And again, to think it's just, you don't have to invest in hundreds of dollar professional backdrops, that you can get a good quality product with, spending $10 at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever.
Anybody can do that. Having a good tea towel or some kind of fabric is also kind of a good idea, just for softening some things, or you can have ingredients kind of laying around in some of the shots. Making sure, if you have a DSLR, you may have to make sure you have the right adapter on your tripod. You need to have something that holds your phone or holds your iPad if you're filming with that.
Right. So we're going back. We have our phone or some kind of a camera, tripod. And something to hook your camera or phone to the tripod.
Sure.
Okay. And then you're probably going to have some kind of a background and a base, right? You got to put your ingredients and something to get in the back of the shot, and thinking about your side angles. And then you are also thinking about lighting. So you mentioned a window. What are some other tips as far as lighting goes?
Lighting, you need to assess the time of day you get the best light, and you don't want a harsh light.
What would you mean by harsh versus what's the optimum?
So kind of like a shadowy light is the optimum. And if you have the morning sun coming in on your best window, you can hang a transparent, not transparent, but an opaque shower curtain liner to your curtain rod, and it'll diffuse the light. So that also helps where it doesn't look overexposed. That's just a really cheap and easy way to get good light. If and I filmed in different places. You don't have to film in your kitchen. You can film in a bedroom. I go outside and film on an overcast day because I love lighting on an overcast day. Today's actually one of those days here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go film something. So you can film anywhere where there's a good big window or just a good light that comes in your house.
And if you can't get natural light, always then you're going to have to invest in lights. But if you're trying to keep your costs low, just finding a window and finding the time of day and taking a look at your video afterwards, do some test runs and see how it looks before you before you film the entire thing.
Yes, always test your light and the time of day and the side of your house that it's on. You could get, more. I know in my house, I get morning sun on one side, afternoon side on the other, but I have more shadows in the afternoon. So my optimum time of filming is in the front of my house between 10 and 12.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows if you have if your background and your base, it looks like marble, and who knows you're filming in your bedroom. If you have great light, who cares? No one's going to know that it's your bedroom or wherever. It doesn't matter.
That's right. And you need to know how to position your lights.
Okay.
That's a big deal for a lot of people. And also the kind of lights, I prefer softbox lights because I feel like with a diffuser on them,
okay.
you can buy those for super cheap. I think that helps with your lighting situation as well, but you need to know how to position them around, and you need to test it. You always need to test it before.
I'm spending a lot of time talking about lighting, and the reason is we had Whitney Bateson was on a couple weeks ago, and she really said the difference a lot of times between something that looks professional and looks like you're kind of not yet there is lighting. And, if you don't do a good job with your lighting, your video doesn't perform. It's not going to get the reaction and the responses you want. So spending some time, what you're saying is just, again, echoing that same fact.
The great thing about Hands in Pans is that you don't have to be on camera.
Right.
So, what I do, the only thing that I do recommend is making sure that your nails are not chipped, that you're not showing giant cuts on your hands. You need to be, at least your hands need to look good. In the fact of you want it to look clean, and people, you don't want people commenting on your hands. You want them commenting on your food.
Good point.
So you just need to take the time to make sure that your hands look clean, your nails look clean, they look filed.
Okay.
It's not a hot mess when you're looking at the video, because that's just distracting.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I'm thankful that I can do videos that include my face and not my hands. I'll be like, I was out planting plants earlier. Don't look at my hands. So
Sometimes I have my daughter.
Your what? Your daughter? Sorry.
I'll use my daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll use my daughter's hands.
Oh, that's cool. Including that's actually fun. So we talked about kind of some of the tools you need getting started. What advice do you have for, that first, I guess maybe you've made a few videos and you'd like to improve them, or if you're kind of just thinking about taking some of the recipes that you already have and creating videos to get on your website or your social media?
Well, just start simple. It doesn't have to be Hands in Pans if you don't want it to be. You could start with something as simple as Lumen 5, where you're just recycling a blog post with pre-made stock images. If you want to play around, there's a stock video site called Pexels that you can download some video clips, and you can practice editing those just so you have a feel of it. They even have some food ones. So just get a bunch of different food clips and see if you can't make a story out of that. That's a lot less, that'll make it a lot less intimidating, because really a lot of it comes from the editing portion.
Yes.
We're not professionals. And that's another equipment piece that we forgot to add.
We need to talk about editing, because I'm thinking of making this transition from, it's a little bit of a hard transition, right? We had our sheet pan full of ingredients, and we had our shots and things on our Post-it notes, and then we filmed it. Now what, right? Okay, now the real work begins. Like, how do you, editing software, and how do you go into actually taking the footage and creating a video? How long does that take? I have so many questions about this part of the process.
Well, I think one of the hardest things is getting everything crammed into a minute. So you really have to be thoughtful in your storyboard process as into how much do I really want to show? How much can I take out? Because you're going to be taking out a lot of footage. I know a lot of people like to film and never stop all at once. I personally can't do that. Like, I start and stop a lot. just because I'm changing my camera angle and I have one camera that I use. I start and stop a lot with recipe videos. It's just the way I do it. And I like it that way because then I get my different clips.
Mm.
You don't have to do that. You can film it all at once. And if that's more comfortable for you, great. For me, the editing process is a lot easier that way. So once you film everything, you download it into your software of choice. And your software of choice is going to be expensive or really inexpensive or free.
Huh.
So the free options are iMovie and Movie Maker.
Okay.
They don't have a lot of versatility. You can still use them and make great videos.
Okay.
Still. The other ones are for Mac is Final Cut Pro.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite, but I don't have a Mac. So guess what? I'm not going to use it. And I'm not going to go spend $1,200 on a Mac just so I can have, that software. If you have a PC, you can do something like Premiere Pro. That Premiere Pro is no joke. Premiere Pro is very frustrating. It is a long learning curve. I'm not going to lie. There were in the first phases of me trying to learn it, and I still haven't learned it completely. It's so complex. I wanted to throw my computer against the wall because it's just not intuitive, and you have to know exactly what you're doing.
Okay.
So,
would you recommend that people get their feet wet using something like iMovie or Movie Maker, or
yes.
okay, so maybe just try with that first.
Get your feet wet with that, and then really my recommendation for dietitians is Filmora. Filmora is my favorite one for RDs because it is so intuitive. It's so easy to use. I love Filmora, and
it's affordable too.
You get good quality.
Yeah.
It's affordable for a year. What is it, like $30 or $40?
Yeah.
For a lifetime. $40 for a lifetime. Sign me up. I love Filmora. It is so easy to use. I made a video this morning in 10 minutes on Filmora.
And so when you're doing the editing and you're talking about the clips, your editing tool is where you're adding in all of your transitions, right? And something like iMovie or Movie Maker doesn't have that capability. Is that kind of...
Well, you're not going to have as much as in text placement. You're not going to have as much control as to how you can move the words around. I haven't worked on it in a long time, I'll be honest, so I've forgotten a lot.
Mm-hmm.
With something as cheap as Filmora, you can move your text anywhere.
Right.
There's so many advanced options on there. It's really...
And the square video, it allows you to produce your videos square. And I think that's something when we talked about filming, making sure that your camera is probably going to capture more than square. Your camera doesn't capture a square image. That when you make your video, you're going to make it square, right?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you said that because, okay, when I make a video, let's start at the beginning, and then I'll get to that point.
Okay.
But say I just shot my hands in pans, and now I'm going to import it. So I download everything off of my card onto my computer, and then I upload it onto my software. Okay?
Okay.
Then I have all that in my software. Then I start dragging it down. Well, I review it first, so I make sure that I got the right clip. And before I even download any of it, I have checked. The reason I start and stop is because I check every clip to make sure it's what I want.
Oh, because it's very difficult to get everything set up again if you've missed something. Yeah. Got it.
It's a good 30, 45 minutes just to set up sometimes.
Right.
So,
because you never know when maybe you didn't capture something, right? It didn't quite. Okay.
Exactly. Or you forgot a step. I've done that before too. I did a whole video and I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot a step. Like, how can you do that? Like, I didn't even add this ingredient. That makes no sense.
And I think that's good that if you have your Post-it notes and you're pulling them in order, right, with the shot, that really helps you keep your brain together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the Post-it notes are born, because you really are multitasking a lot of things at one time.
Okay.
And it's visual, and I like the neon colors because then it reminds me. And once you download everything, what I do next is that I clip out the audio because you're not talking. You're going to have to upload music.
Okay.
So I automatically detach all of my audio on all of my clips because it's annoying once you're editing.
Yeah, and if you have many small clips, you're going to have to do it for each and every one, right? Yeah. Otherwise, which is fine, but just make sure you do it for all of them.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Okay.
It's super easy. So once I do that, I detach the audio. Then I go back and I start cutting.
And when you detach the audio, it shows up on its own separate line, and then you just go, goodbye, delete you. I don't want you anymore. And then it's gone forever. Okay. Right.
Super easy to do that. And then you go in and you start editing your clips to as what you want them to look like. So, like, for instance, when I did my 3-ingredient yogurt, I had an overhead shot of me putting, no, I take that back. I had a front and center shot of my blender with me adding the ingredients. So you saw the strawberries, you saw the bananas, you saw the yogurt, and then you saw it blend up on the side, and then you saw an overhead of me filling them up.
Okay.
So, you know, with the blender one, I had to be very thoughtful on, okay, I'm adding my strawberries to the blender. I don't want it to shake the table because it's relatively dense. So I had to be very methodical about how I put those in the blender and how many I put in the blender.
Okay.
And then it was the bananas, and then it was the yogurt. And it could have been I did the yogurt first so it would catch the strawberries. But it was very pretty because you could see the layers of color.
Okay.
And to me, that was visually appealing. So I wanted that to come across on video.
Okay.
And then you saw a tighter shot of me blending that. So that would be something that I clipped. That was a long clip, and I clipped it down really short.
Okay.
So those are like, I've got me putting each ingredient, 3 ingredients in that blender. Then the next clip would be an up close of the blender blending those ingredients together. Then we went to the next clip, which I had to edit, was I did like 8 of these Go-Gurt disposable packs of me pouring it into a funnel.
Okay.
And, you know, I only showed 1 or 2 in the video. I can't remember right now. And then I did another shot of me laying out there's no hands in it. It's just 2 at a time showing up on the screen.
Okay.
And the last shot was my logo and my website.
So in between those, often, you're going to have, okay, one banana. You have the text on the screen. Do you typically do a shot, kind of a screen that doesn't include food that has the ingredient name and amount, or do you usually overlay it on the top? And do you intermix? And do you have any recommendations as far as that?
Do what you want. If you want to write or put the amounts on there, that's fine. I used to do the amounts, and I also used to do the health benefits of that food. That's something to think about. I think that's a personal preference. Excuse me. Sometimes people lay out all the ingredients at one time. I know Cotter Crunch is a good one to watch. She does great food videos. Sometimes she lays out all of her ingredients at once and puts the name on it, and then all you see is her putting it in whatever she's putting it in. So the amounts aren't on there.
I see.
It's really up to you. If you put amounts, you may not be driving people to your blog post. What's your goal? You have to think about that. So if you go ahead and lay out all the ingredients, but then again, do you want to cater to your people and make it super easy for them and already have the ingredients on there?
Got it.
That's a personal preference.
Yeah. What's the purpose?
That's why I like to do just my ingredients and sometimes a health benefit. I think that's kind of my shtick. It always has been. So it just depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think there's good opportunities to have, multiple videos, even for the same recipe, one that's maybe more focused on the health benefits, and it might appeal to different people because you might be catching them with a different concept, but it's the same content, just used, in a new and fresh way. So that would be fun. I actually like the educational piece. But again, video, just your standard recipe video, people stop and watch them. If, especially if you are creating, appealing to your audience with the right videos, the right shots. So opportunities or mistakes. So what mistakes do you commonly see that what do you see dietitians doing wrong, I guess?
I see a lot of dark video. I see a lot of overexposed video. And I see a lot of wrong font. So that's why I wanted to kind of stay on the text for a minute.
Okay.
The text that you choose, the font that you choose for your video is still very important. Okay? And what a lot of people don't realize is that you can you can do a lot. I know in Filmora, I see it more in Filmora than anywhere, but you actually can change anything in there, but people don't always know that you can in the advanced section. So font is really, really important. If you do white on white, I don't like the hard black lines. I've done that before in some videos. I like a shadow background a little bit better. Doesn't need to be too dark. Don't get too fussy with cursive writing. Sometimes it can just not look really good, and then people don't really understand what it says, because you got to remember these are a minute or shorter.
Yes.
So they may not be able to read. It depends on your transition. If your transition's in there too, they may not catch it. So the speed in which words are up on a screen is another one I see. Make sure it's not too fast. Make sure it's not too slow.
Is there any rules of thumb as far as how long, if the number of words and how long, or just any rules of thumb?
It has to be videos and then see what the flow is. If it's too long, you'll know it. You'll know it. Like when I was making my video this morning, I was like, that clip is 4 seconds long. That's too long for that text to be up on the screen. It's way too long for that text to be on the screen. I need it to be like whoosh and then whoosh.
Got it.
And then,
I see. And I think watching other videos and showing it to someone, can give you some feedback to say, I couldn't read that, or yeah. And your group, I think, is a great, I think you should talk about the group you have and how people can, learn more about video, because you have so many resources and tools in there and you as the expert are accessible to everyone who's trying to get started or get better. You want to tell people about your group?
Well, yeah, I started group making. Yeah, I started that group after I ended my other food video shindig that I was doing, and I just wanted to kind of help other people along the way who were struggling like I was struggling, because I knew that it was an area in which dietitians really needed to grow and learn. And I'm by far no videographer, but I think we're all in the same journey, and that's what this group does. It's an encouraging place. There's never been anything ugly said. There has always just been encouragement. It's a place where you can post your videos and get feedback. It's a place where I do video of the day, and you can feature your video to get some extra love on it. I'll do live trainings at times with people who are doing really well in video. But, and I'll post tips and tricks. I'll post blog posts of things that I've done or things that I know. I know lately we've been doing an intro challenge, and it's just to get people comfortable on camera with saying who you are, what you offer, and where they can find you. I think people are just so intimidated by speaking on a camera and looking at themselves that, they don't want to do that. So I just want them to get, comfortable with video, because live video is exploded.
Right.
And we as dietitians really need to be that voice and to inspire people, because, if we don't, other people who aren't credentialed or don't have, the education that we do are going to do it. So that's kind of why I created that group, and I invite everybody to join it. And it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of great members in there.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been a great place to see other people's videos and not just, the ones that are done by the big outfits, to see actual dietitians who think like I think, and they, whether it's the features of an ingredient or they make it, it's made by a dietitian, and you can tell by the way the video is made. And so I think, like you said, the world needs us to create recipes and also create videos, whether they're hands and pans or others, that you have such great resources in there for people to get started and to grow. Before, I have quite a bit of questions here, but using video. So we can talk about all of the tools and, right, I need all this equipment and the editing, but really the purpose of creating the videos is to grow your business, to help it promote, how do you get the most, distance out of your videos? How do you promote them? What has been beneficial for you to best have them work for your business and your goals?
So like if you're just getting started and you already have a blog, what I would go back and do is look at your top performing posts, your top recipes. What are the ones that people gravitated towards the most? Start there. That's the best place you can start. And also just ask your audience what they want. I'm going to start making some recipe videos. What do you want to see? That's going to be your best feedback that you're going to get. Send out a survey in your newsletter. What kind of videos do you want me to make for you? You also want to think about seasonal recipes. You want to think about holidays that are coming up. I know I mentioned my green eggs and ham for Dr. Seuss Day earlier. You want to think about what's trendy right now. Look at Holly Granger's video on unicorn noodles. That's really trendy, and it exploded, exploded. Those are some of the ideas. Look at the food day calendars. I did have an editorial calendar. I'm actually going to update one and put it on RD to RD this summer that has all the food days and holidays outlined for you already. So those are things you want to think about when you're looking for content.
Good. And I know you also have a toolkit that kind of lays out some of what we've talked about today, but in an organized fashion with some worksheets and tools in there. Can you tell people a little bit about that and how they can get it? Because I know you've got it on BetsyRamirez.com and RD to RD.
Yeah, I have it in both places. So basically, it's a visual planner. I'm a visual person, like I've said throughout this, and for me, I needed something very organized and visual to get me in a place to where I could produce a video. And so I still use it and I'll put my Post-it notes on top of it sometimes, and sometimes I just use my planner. It used to have an editorial calendar piece to it, but I took that out just because you have to update that yearly, and I wanted this to be something that you could use at any time and any place. So it has an equipment list. It has the different software broken down for you already. It has storyboards. It's not your typical storyboards. It's broken down specifically for food video. And there's a few other things in there as well. And because you've asked me now, I can't remember. But it's just a very helpful tool to have if you are starting from nothing and you're just really stressed out about it, like we can be, because it's new. You're not a videographer. How am I supposed to do this? So it just kind of breaks those things down. I don't give out individual recommendations to buy this and buy that. You can find some of that on my blog post that I've written about, but that's going to be different based on everyone, and it's going to be different based on the equipment that you have already.
Right.
So there are some things that I have that I like, and there are some things that I have that I don't like. So I think that's more of an individual preference. But yes, it's a great resource, and you can find it on my site or on RD to RD.
Yes, BetsyRamirez.com.
And if you're a member of my group, you get a discount on my site.
That's a good thing. We all love discounts. Discount, yes, check that off. So as always, I could always keep our guests on for the entire day, but we are almost out of time, and I want to make sure that if people want to find out more about the products that you offer, we talked about BetsyRamirez.com, or if they want to stay connected with you so that they can read your blog posts on creating videos, where can they find you? Join your newsletter.
Oh, well, you can find me. You can find me in my group if you need help with video. I do offer services to make videos for other dietitians. I just don't advertise them that much because my life has been so busy. I offer coaching. If anyone needs help coaching, you can just email me through my site. And we can come up with a hands-in-pan strategy for your, first video or your first through fifth video, whatever, your needs are. You can find me there. I'm not on Twitter much. I'm on Instagram at Betsy Ramirez. But really, if you want to know about video, join my group. It's under Making Food Videos. That's the end of the URL for Facebook.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll put a link to it in the comments here so people can easily get to you as well as your website. And your Instagram feed is a great place to go to see some videos when we're talking about shot angles and the overheads and the backgrounds that you're talking about. You can watch some of those and see exactly what you've been mentioning and what you've been talking about. So this has been really fun for me I just am thankful that our paths crossed, and I really am grateful for stepping into video, and I think doing it in my own way, a lot more live video, but I think I'd love to get started making more recipe videos, and this was really helpful today for me to really break down what's going on and how to get from a recipe to a video that I'd feel proud to put on my social media or on my website. So thank you for sharing your expertise today.
Well, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. And I always like talking about video. It's one of my favorite subjects.
It is. That and your boxers, right? Boxer mom.
My babies, yes. My baby boxers.
Your boxers, yeah. Well, thanks again. And again, to get in touch with Betsy, she's betsyramirez.com, and she has a Facebook group making videos for dietitians. You can find her there. And thanks again for joining RD to RD Live. Next week, our schedule is a tiny bit different. We're going to move to Thursday instead of Wednesday, and we're going to talk about how to get your CEU course approved from the Commission on Dietetic Registration. Really important topic because starting in June, they're going to charge you to get continuing education approved. So May would be a fantastic time to start to really put the wheels on and get started and get that. If you have a CEU webinar, course, whatever, you want to get approved. Otherwise, you're going to have to shell out some money in the future to get that done. So we're going to bring on some experts and help you talk you through it. So thanks again, Betsy, for being on. Everyone else, I'll see you back here next week. All right.
Bye.
Bye.